Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Outdoor Collective. Hey, guys, it is great to be back with you. Kyle, it's good to see your face. We are doing this our normal Zoom. There you are with your libations for the evening,
Yes.
ready to ready to kind of jump in on this and get started. Everything else going okay this week?
Yeah, it's good, man. Just month end at work and plowing through stuff and getting that done. Looking forward to the weekend, spend time with those who count. So that's the way it goes, right?
Yeah, for sure. So last week, we started not only season two with episode one in our first podcast on the Alaskan trip that we took, but we also started um, our first YouTube video of it. Like I said, I think I said in my post, it ain't the prettiest thing you'll see on YouTube, but I think it was fun. I think people enjoyed it. And like we say all the time, hey guys, this only happens and this only continues to be fun and continue to grow. If you join along, hang out with us, like the like buttons, and share it with your friends, review it, all the things that are needed. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe in different places wherever you like hanging out with us. Kyle, I think probably the best thing for us to do is kind of real quick. Um, we left off last week. Monday night, we came down off of Exit Glacier, off of the Harding ice field. Um, our man Tyson hooked us up. Actually met us at the bottom with tacos. Um, the second time we had tacos
Wait,
that
why
week.
why are you like why did so we just magically appeared at the bottom?
I mean, we got down. Am I forgetting something? Because
No, I mean it's like I don't know. I think the thing to mention about that hike is that it's nothing but steps almost to get all the way to the top. And then,
right,
and I have issues with steps. I don't know what the way my left knee works. I've mentioned it before. It's not an excuse for anything. The finality of it is I'm going to have left knee issues all the time, and it's really bad on steps. So I just hate it. But I'm not missing out on stuff.
yeah,
And
for sure.
on the way down, it's just as bad. It's like you can't get off the trail at all because everything's right to the side. I mean, you're
Yeah,
right into alders or whatever else if you step off the side. So it's. I even looked up and tried to Google how many steps there were and came up with no results. But um, the going down, it's like I really couldn't stop on anything that wasn't flat, and there wasn't much flat because my legs were jackhammering because my
right.
quads are sore. And some people I know people debate. I hate uphills. A lot of people hate downhills. And I almost switched over to team downhill as far as what was worse because that was challenging. I found it hard to feel like I could pause with any weight on either leg, just because I don't know. I've not went up there in that less of shape, I guess. So to say, and then
Yeah.
of course, you come around the corner and I'm dusting myself off, and what happened there?
Oh, I completely forgot. See, maybe I just wiped that out because I'm so used to you being the hero. You did,
No.
you just like, you did just like bite it. Like I think it was even like, was it in front of somebody too?
But these guys were looking at this trail map on their way out, and I don't know what they're trying to figure out, but yeah, they were just right there. And I just stepped on this boulder kind of out in the middle of the path. Not this boulder, makes it sound gigantic. I'm talking this, the size of your fist. I stepped on
Right.
it and tweaked my ankle pretty hard. And I wear mid boot, so that was a big help of mine. But I went right down in front of those guys, like over on my side. I'm like, two things. I'm like, holy clumsy, and I'm not in my 20s anymore because I'd have saved myself 20
Yeah,
years ago.
for
But I
sure.
just went straight down.
Right. And the thing is, if you saved yourself, you'd ended up uh, you hurting something else. So
Yeah, probably. I mean, those guys came over. Oh man, are you okay? Do you need some water, some other stuff? They were like probably like definitely tourists. Fine. I was lucky to have on the good footwear is a great thing to have if you could have some ankle issues. But I didn't really want to talk about that so much as I talked about. I didn't want to like fairy tale ourselves like that Star Trek show where we just beamed down in Rick's world. We just beamed down like and went right to tacos. I was saying that's not at all what happened. We
and
didn't
that
beam
is a good
down.
point. And I
Those
would, I
Scottish
would,
guys showed up and beamed us into the taco town, Rick.
and I would say that is completely true, in the sense of I am completely 100% think that downhill was the worst on my muscles. Yes, it was tiring. Yes, I felt like I was slow going up, but coming down is what hurt. And I think the going down, the muscles that I used going down are the ones that hurt for 3 4 days later.
Yeah.
I know my ACLs, my MCLs, and my quads were shot for a good 36 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, even like we tried walking up and down steps at the camper, at a restaurant, even little even like little wheelchair ramps. It was still like, oh, I can't believe I'm going down.
Yeah. Yeah. Stepping out. It was like I woke up at 2 a.m. and had to take a leak. Step outside the RV camper. I think it'd be a camper. Step outside the camper door there, and a really nice camper. Step outside the door and didn't want to go down the stairs, so I just peed from the top of the landing. Hope the neighbors weren't out there like walking their dog. I'm like, I'm not going down. I'm peeing from up here. I don't care.
Well, I know it took both hands on one rail to get me down the first time I went down, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I was just like, where am I not going to walk tomorrow? I'm going to pee right here. So I didn't get down. Yeah, I don't know. I think just that lactic acid was crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was just a straight downhill kind of thing. And I think if we took 5 hours getting up, we probably took 2.5, 3 hours getting less. It was less than 3 getting down.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just know that again, as we covered in the first episode, there's not a lot you can do where we're at preparing for that. You can go do, you'd have to do, Gray's Arch and go back down to the bottom, I don't know, 10 times or whatever it'd be to try to set 9 times to try to equal that game.
Or just 5 hours on one of the stair machines, maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not if you have a nice even incline like this, it's completely different than having this and then that and then this and then that. It's just like Stairmaster. How long can you walk on a 3-4% incline on a treadmill, and then you get on a Stairmaster and you can't do it a tenth the time you can
exactly.
on a treadmill. And so that's kind of the difference. We got beat up for that.
But again, the savior of the day was, even though we were late for supper, him bringing tacos to us.
Yes.
Whether he was worried he's going to have to carry us down off the mountain, or he just wanted to meet us when we got down there. Yeah. It was definitely nice having those. Were those rockfish? That we had rockfish.
That was rockfish tacos. Yeah, from a place there in Seward.
They were stinking, just flat out awesome.
If I remember correctly, we had 3 rockfish tacos a piece, and then some other mixed tacos, I think, with carne asada, and 5 tacos seemed to fit the bill.
I think we had carnitas, a carne asada, and 3 rockfish. I think
that's the first time. That's the first time I've camped where they have a designated cooking and eating area with a bear locker at this common area. Usually, I've been there. We've either been in the camper or we've put our food away from where we're at to keep bears away. So they're not all up in our face about anything. So that's the first time we've done that to where we had to have that. So that was kind of neat. That was the fire area, the cooking area, and all that. And there were people actually up there cooking.
And I got a nice picture there of at the trash can, a big, looked like a black bear paw, because it's not the same size as my hand. I put my hand up next to it. I forgot about that, but that was there.
And we're like, hey, do bears ever come up here? And this lady's like, there's a footprint right there, guy. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
I don't know. To her, it was like big deal. We're like, oh, so observant.
Yeah, for sure. There probably would have been a black bear, right around the corner. We missed it, but
but
I'll tell you what that was a great day. That was an awesome day. And it definitely it's one of them things. And you said this even before, like, pictures don't do it justice. Words don't do it justice. One podcast in the beginning of the second podcast does not do Exit Glacier and the Hardy Nice Field justice. But at the same time,
we're not physically capable of explaining the beauty of Exit Glacier on a sunny day.
Oh no,
Like
no.
I don't have the mental capacity and the air in my lungs to describe how beautiful it is up there and how
Mhm.
nice it is to. I mean, we should have went up there about 11 o'clock and then just sat there for 4 or 5 hours. I could have done that.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And look here, Kyle. As we start our Tuesday, I'm being very unprofessional. My computer wasn't plugged in. Of course, it doesn't have enough juice. But let's just keep talking. When we woke up the next day and pried ourselves out of bed,
Yeah.
we had for me it was a really cool experience. Across the street from Tyson's house was a really cool little what do they call those little shacks next to the
Just like
side of the road?
I mean, I don't know, like a little, some of them are called like coffee huts or whatever. Just like it's like a little building out in the middle of a parking lot that does drive through on each side for serving coffee. I'm sure there are other places. I first saw them up there.
Mhm. I mean, I've seen one or maybe two around this area, but it seemed to me like they had those little shacks and they weren't big at all. I mean, like shoot, were they, if they were 10 feet wide, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
In 12, 15 feet long.
Hey, Jake.
Um, Hi, Jake. How's it going, buddy? Welcome to the podcast, Jake.
Uh,
But the other, so we walk across the street, and as I'm walking over there to get breakfast, I mean, just kind of trying to get the sleep out of my eyes, whatever. I realized that I'm staring out over a a mountain range. I mean, they're in the background is this beautiful mountain range, just as the sun is rising over top of it. It
yeah.
was one of those things where it's like, wow, I can't believe where I'm at right now. Just here in this little burg on the side of the road, getting a breakfast sandwich, and and just the
Yeah.
beauty and awesomeness of it.
It takes a little bit, been up there, 5 times. It takes a little bit when you're there to realize for the reality. It's like, I liken it to, like my father-in-law passed away and I like wanted to, about, relatively short time within the same time range as what your dad did, Rick. And I don't know how long it took me before a couple times a week, I didn't want to text him or call him. Like my
Right,
mind hadn't caught up to the reality that he had passed away. And
right.
with that in mind, your mind doesn't realize when you wake up and open that door of the house we were staying at, or in that really nice camper or whatever we did, that when you open that door, that what you were going to see as soon as you're out there, like the reality of it. I don't know how many times it hits you and just goes, my God, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, just a beautiful place to sit. And, we had get the breakfast sandwiches that were just fantastic. And then we made some new friends. You want to tell us about the new friends we made there
Yeah,
at
I mean,
Kenai?
they had a really cool outdoor guide service that was their Kenai Backcountry Adventures, and
Yeah,
we went over there and we actually were standing there at the coffee thing, and we were trying to decide what to do, and he was on the other side and had been standing there before we were, in the car went up, and we just walked up, and then he was already waiting over there. So I said, hey, come over here and put your order in, and whatever, you were here before us, and he's like, no, that's cool, thanks, man, I really appreciate it. And he's like, I just work over here. I'm going to put my order in, then I'll come and get it. They'll bring it over to me. So I was like, oh,
mhm.
right over there. So we struck up a little conversation. We ended up going over there and chit chatting with the team over there. And so it was really good to meet people out there that were, basically running
Yeah,
guide services all over.
that was I think it was Roger Jeffrey, if I remember right,
Yeah.
was his name. And I know that I know that we told him all about us. Podcaster Roger, if you're out there, thanks a lot for having breakfast. You invited us into your shop as we were sitting there and just kind of talking. I think we talked over there for probably an hour.
Yeah.
You invited us in to eat our sandwiches, and we sat there and just shot the breeze. You guys talked to us about the different kinds of amazing things you guys get to do.
Yeah.
One thing they talked about that kind of just really kind of sparked my interest, Kyle, was the idea of the bear hike where they go out and on that peninsula and just have sit and wait for the bears to come, and the bears come, and there there they are
Yeah.
right there without it. But
I mean, they're talking about the
you
closeness which they get with those bears. That sounded like something I want to do for sure.
for sure, for sure. And another cool thing is they had a big tree right in their backyard that had a big old eagle's nest in it.
Yeah.
That they were talking about. That they even had some cool stuff going on as far as that goes. But just yeah, it was just I remember that. I remember that morning being one of those things where it's like, wow, that's a really kind of cool, awesome idea. And then after that, we took our road trip for the weekend for the week to there to was it to Portage? Is that where we started out?
We went to Portage, yeah, and dropped my favorite buddy up there, Eli. Dropped him off there where he was going to go stay with his mom for the next couple of weeks or a couple of days. We dropped him off there, and then we drove across the largest, isn't it the longest tunnel?
Longest man-made tunnel. Yeah.
Longest man-made tunnel in the U.S. That goes from one side over to Whittier.
Mm-hmm. And learned a lot about Whittier in just that that it started as a town. Even they took ships up into that bay and started that town, and there wasn't a road to it when it started, and that was clear back in World War II.
Yeah.
And then I guess it became like more or less a base during the Cold War.
Yeah.
And that's when they put. And I think we videotaped it. It took what 6 minutes, I think.
6 minutes to drive. Yeah, I think 20, 30, about 30 miles an hour took 6 minutes to go through it. And it's one-way traffic. So they stop you one way and then you get the other way. You have to wait for that. So we talked to a police officer there that was in Whittier, I think Whittier, and they share an officer there, or their police department is between there and Girdwood. I think that was on the back of their police cars there too. So,
but the idea of only being able to get into your town at a certain times of the day, like that kind of the thought of that, like, hey, if I'm going into that town to work, I got to be there a half an hour earlier than I normally would, because going into town they only opened it that way at the bottom of the hour. So on the 30s. At every hour you went into town, and at the top of every hour at the double zeros you could leave town, and it went 15 minutes. You had that 1 to 1:15 where you were going out of town, and then that 1:30 to 1:45 where you were heading into town. And I probably said that backwards, but you get the point. And if you're not there by that 15-minute mark, you got to sit and wait for another 15 minutes and do nothing, kind of deal.
Yeah. It's just things you never I never even thought about anything like that. It's just funny. It's like mine never thought there'd be a tunnel. You'd have to wait for other people. I've seen that like on a ferry crossing a river or something like that. Or whatever, you wait in your ferry, and it comes and drops people off, and you get to load up. That's almost what it was like, but you're waiting to drive through a tunnel to a town on the other side. So then we left. We went and had some really good dinner in there. Some good seafood. And then we were hustling to make it on the way back at the bottom or the top of the hour, like an hour and a half later. And we were able to make that. And we drove all the way back through the tunnel.
And it reminded me, Kyle, it kind of reminded me, because, we joke about Nada Tunnel being the one-way tunnel, and trying to figure out, of course, when you pull up the Nada Tunnel, you can see all the way through it. But this huge tunnel wasn't much wider than Nada. If you've been down at Red River Gorge, I mean, it was probably maybe, let's say, twice as wide, but definitely was one lane, had a sidewalk that went with it, and then it even had train tracks that ran down the middle of it. So on top of car traffic, that one lane also, a train goes in and out.
The Alaska Railroad.
Yeah. But when we left Whittier. What was that name of that huge lake that we looked at? Was that Portage there?
Yeah. There's a couple I think there's 2 glaciers that come in there. We jumped in there, and the visitor center was of course, COVID closed, although it was a giant visitor center. It's the size of like a high school stadium, but it was closed, so no joy there. And we drove back and tried to get a good picture of the glacier that's there. And then we headed back out, and it was really nice, windows down type of day, really.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah.
The sun was shining. You could see the tops of all the mountains.
Yeah.
And then we got back out on Turnaround Sound and got around the corner of it.
Turn around. I'm going to correct you. It's Turnagain Arm Sound.
What's it called?
Turnagain Arm Sound.
Like I said, turnaround sound.
Turnaround
Soup. Turn again Arm is where it was. I'm
Turn
sorry. I'm
again, arm
sorry,
sound. Yeah,
Alaskans. It's turn again arm. Um,
love it.
but then we got into Hope, and um, honestly, Hope was like the idea of Hope. I think is really cool. I think not showing up on a weekend is disappointing. Would you say that? Because
Yeah, I
I
mean,
feel like with,
I'm sure there's times where it's super busy. Maybe they have some, I don't know. I forget all about it. I read about it the first time I was ever there and I kind of forget, but I'm sure
Mhm.
it's a busier town at some points, summertime or they have festival or whatever in the town. But I mean, one of the best hikes in the state that we didn't do is right there.
Mhm.
And the weather was nice and kind of like, man, I wish we had our gear with us right now, but we weren't packed
Yeah.
like that. And, we didn't have the ride at the other side when we got done too, and had to coordinate all that. So,
Right.
um, if that weather would have been there Sunday, we would have already done that hike instead of Exit Glacier, because that was
Yeah,
our
for
original
sure.
intent, was to hit that hike first and do a through hike there.
Yeah, and then like you said, there at Hope is the end of the Resurrection Pass
Yeah.
hike, and I agree 100%. I mean that creek was beautiful, crystal clear running. It was a beautiful sound, and even in the path, I think we walked up maybe 200 yards of the path. It just was one of those things where I was like, man, um, this would have been amazing 4 days on that.
Hmm. Hmm.
We even saw, you know, a lady out there. Was she painted for gold? Even there,
Yeah,
right there.
I think she had like a camper, or a cab over a camper on her truck, and was probably staying out there. And she
Yeah,
was
for
like,
sure.
panning and whatever else, like she was out there.
Mhm. But it was definitely, and again, Kyle, it it was one of those times or one of those places where we would sit and take pictures, and we'd look and take picture, and then turn around and be like, I could take twice as many pictures this
Yeah.
way. And you turn, a quarter, you take a quarter of a turn, not even a whole at 180. You take a 90-degree turn, and there's pictures, whether it's the trees or whether it's the even the creek banks and stuff were just,
Yeah.
it was just a beautiful, beautiful place to be able to say, man, this was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I like the part I like is driving around in there also and seeing some of the houses that people have for,
Oh yeah.
some people have added two things, and it's kind of like a hodgepodge of shelter, and some of them are just like, man, that there was a house we went by, Rick, that was for sale. It was like $3 million,
Yeah,
you
easy.
know, up in there, like 27 acres, couple ponds, and it's a really nice 6,000 square foot house. But
Mhm.
imagine living there year round, what that would be like. And Hope, I don't know how, you'd have to work remote. I mean, I wouldn't even know how all that would work. There's no job, can't be too many jobs in that area other than the service industry and maybe food and
Not
lodging.
yet.
Other than that, there's not
Right.
anything like that. So,
Right, for sure. And
but
whether maybe it was a second or third, second or third home, who knows? But there were some, like you said, there were some that were these beautiful multi-million, and then there were some that were hunting cabins. Is what they look like, or
yeah, and
just
some,
maybe it's
some
just
just like here, some disrepair, complete disrepair
yeah, for sure,
too. And you're just
for
kind of
sure,
like,
for
man,
sure.
that must be a rough winter in that thing.
Right. And then we finished up. We finished up that evening in Seward for supper at was that when we had the breeze in? Is that right?
Oh,
Seward.
Seaward.
See, you caught it. See, I was trying to sneak it in on you. I was trying to sneak it in on you. We did. Well, that was when we had the breeze in, right?
Where were we at the Bree Inn?
Breeze. Are you making fun of me again? Jeez.
Oh yeah, we
Sorry,
went to
I'm
the
sorry.
went to the Breeze Inn, had some good hamburgers, a couple drinks, and went back, and that was pretty much the end of our Tuesday. Or just dead leg the whole time. Liked the car drive, got to see tons of things. It was a good
Mhm.
day.
It was for sure, for sure. Uh, and then wake up the next morning, and like I said, um, I had that nice little breakfast place across the street. One way on Tuesday. On Wednesday we go the other way, and there's a whole stinking barn, a crepes barn. And
Yeah,
that was honestly that was kind of really cool. I mean, I've had crepes before, but nothing like that.
yeah. I mean,
That
they
was
had
a
reindeer sausage in them.
Yeah, for sure. But even the atmosphere, just this little nice old lady sitting at a counter, got her 2 little crate machines just going to town.
Yeah.
People coming in, you pick a dining room table that's inside this room to sit at, and it might be your party, or it might be your party and 2 other parties, depending on where it is. And she just calls them out and tells you, oh, by the way, there's when you walk in, hey, there's where the menus are, and oh, coffee's serve yourself. So
Yeah.
just and it was it looked like she had just cleaned out her cabinet with her coffee cups and just had them sitting there by the coffee pot.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been the 1,000th pair of lips to have shared those. That's for sure. She just made them to order, and is even like, hey, if there's no room, share a table, type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's cool. We had those, took some back to my buddy who unfortunately had to work almost the entire time we were there. So, but I get it. That's his job, right?
Right.
And has had some different things on, and that was cool. So we took them back to him, and then we decided that we were going to pack up and head out to that Tonsina Point Trail. We're going to go all the way. Now, what's cool with that hike that we went to is if you don't time it right while you're out there, you can that tide, you can be out there in the middle of that tide coming in and probably be, hope you got your floaties on with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So they recommend most people hike out and then stay the night and come back. And that way you don't have to worry about the tide so much. But we just went out to that. We posted that funny video of us hiking out over that bridge. And of course there were some uphills and downhills, and Tyson's probably laughing the whole time because he knew our legs were sore. He's like, oh no, it's a good hike for you guys. And it was like,
it definitely stretched him. That's for sure. Got him good and stretched and warm up again.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't slacking on that one. So we went down there, and there were so many salmon in that creek right there. It was incredible. There were, most of them were on their down cycle of their life. There were a couple that were okay. So most of them had like decay on their bodies already. So,
and now, Kyle, let's talk about that for a second, because that was definitely something that, I've understood like how that life cycle of salmon works.
yeah.
But what I saw was so educational, informational. Like, I knew that salmon, swim down into the ocean, and then whether it was a year or 2 years, or depending on however long their life cycle is, and different salmon have different lengths. But then I knew that they swam upstream as far as they could, with the hopes and or plans of getting to their to where they were hatched, actually where they were laid. But and then I knew that once they did that, they died. Now, in my mind, it was more of a, hey, they went up there and kind of swam, did their whole laying the eggs and fertilizing the eggs thing, and then turned around and swam back to the ocean and just kind of meandered down. But the idea of seeing there in the water in every stream and every creek, I mean, we're talking some that, I mean, it didn't have 6 inches of water in it, and there were some. We saw there around Tyson's house several little creeks that they were just jumping, trying to get farther and farther up the stream. But then after they had finished their quest, they just sat there and swam against the current as the current's going down into the ocean. They just sat there and more or less just swim against the current until their bodies literally decayed themselves to death. Is that right? Like,
I mean,
like those white spots on them. Yeah, that's actually their body decaying, them dying as they live. Like that to me, that was one of those things where I was like, wow, that was a new thing for me. I don't know how else to say it, but that was.
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting there swimming, waiting, like, hey, my life's done. I got nothing else to do. I'll just swim in this water until I die. I don't know. They don't have, what other options would they have? But there's, they're going to feed bears. They're going to feed, birds. Or, salmon's like maybe the most important thing in Alaska. That if it was ever to be gone, would probably, everything else would follow suit with that, because it's so lucrative for not only humans, but every other animal. I mean, at some point in that food chain, it's all benefiting from it. So,
yeah, for sure. But, like I said, I think it's interesting how, we think we know things, but then when you see it in real life, it's like, wow, that's that's way different than I could even imagine or thought. But yeah, and so there is that big creek that we walked across and a beautiful bridge. And I think that was another one. That was definitely a place where I was like, look at this. And we took pictures. We took pictures looking out over the ocean. And then when we went to walk, I turned around behind us, and it was that creek going up into the mountains, and the mountains that the suns were shining on, and the trees were in. It was definitely one of those places where it's like you are in the middle of like you. I love how you said that, the middle of a screensaver,
Yeah.
kind of deal. And I really thought after that we were going to see a bear. Like when we got off that bridge and headed out towards that little beach, it
Yeah.
just looked like hey, there's going to be a bear. Like we're going to come face
Yeah.
to face with bear. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to stay behind Kyle, but
There
we did our little.
there are plenty of
What's that?
salmon laid up there that have been eaten, by whatever.
Yeah,
So I mean, they're visited and there's tracks, but it had rained a
yeah,
little bit too, so it probably erases a lot of that in there, I
mhm,
guess.
yeah. And then we had that really cool experience, able to have some coffee out there on the beach. Kind of watched the fog come in,
Yeah.
some weather come in, and that was just really cool. We sat out there, made a cup of coffee, hung out for a little bit. I'd like to thank Proud Hound Coffee Shop here in Cincinnati. Your
Oh,
coffee was awesome. We had those packs for 1 cup kind of tea bag kind of things. They were amazing. It's just great coffee. If you get a chance, check them out if you're in the Cincinnati area. That's Proud Hound Coffee Shop. I gotta say that my son-in-law works there, so I'll give him
sure.
a shout
It was
out. But
great. It was awesome. Great cup of coffee.
Mhm.
Little
and as we,
on the way back.
I was gonna say, as we love the effect of the fog and the storm kind of coming in, and when we decided to keep going, what we didn't realize was also coming in was the tide came in, and not only a regular tide, like it was an extra high
Mhm.
tide that really just um, caught us off guard. That's what
Yeah.
it did.
I mean, that creek we had just waded across with not
Mhm.
waded, walked across without even any fear of getting wet was now knee deep,
Right.
just
And
like
so,
that.
and I think that's probably the first time in a long time we've had to take our boots off to cross the creek,
Yeah. That was
and
pretty
that was
cool.
cold water,
Yeah.
that fresh ocean water coming in, and it was a what color? It was like a milky blue, is the way I could describe it.
Yeah. We weren't out there 45 minutes or so, and with no indication that creek was filling up at all. And then you came back and there's salmon right in there, just
Yeah,
right
and
there.
we walked through it. And
Shoes
then we got
off
out
and
to
walk across.
then we got out to what was the name of that? What was the name of that? Um, the lot or the cabin that we went to. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just what's that called? I don't remember the name of the point there, but
Is it Tonsina?
it's Tonsina Point.
Tonsina
But
Point. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the cabin that's there is that Tonsina Point cabin
Mhm.
is the one that's right there. In that beach area,
Mhm.
is all connected all the way down, basically back to Seward again and around the corner.
And
So
tell you what, that was probably one of the coolest places that we were at. Like
mhm,
yeah, we saw that it was $100 a night to reserve it, and you can reserve it up to 6 months,
yeah,
and usually it books out 6 months to the day. Like the day it comes open, the next
yeah,
it's booked out. People already have it, but and then nothing fancy. Had a little kerosene stove in it. Had some plywood bunks that you needed your own mattresses to sleep on,
mhm,
but definitely one of the coolest atmospheres or coolest place to just hang out. Had a nice outdoor fire area. Had its own little, you know, outhouse for it. But
yeah,
definitely would have been a great like 2 3 day. Just we're gonna chill right here. We could have maybe walked out even farther after when the tide went out.
yeah.
But yeah, that was really just to me was a really cool like okay, this shows you just how awesome Alaska is. Like they
Yeah.
just have these little cabins there that you can do it.
Well, that we skipped over a little bit. That forest we walked through was like something out of
Oh,
a Dr. Seuss book with all
oh
those
yeah, for sure.
fluffy, like I don't know what you would call them anyway, but like I don't
Just
know.
they were just moss covered trees, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah, and they had big, I don't know, 2 or 3 foot round, they big old balls of moss basically on everything. That's where the elevated walkway was because they didn't want a lot of trail wear through there.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it was right there, and there was a great little camping area with a shelter and an outhouse there. And we were telling ourselves, man, this would be a nice place to come back and just chill out for a night.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Have a
That
good
was
fire
definitely,
there on the island.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That was a great day. It was a great walk. It was a great 3 or 4. It was even longer now. We were about probably out in the woods about 5 hours.
Mhm.
Just spend time hanging out, just being together. That was yeah. I really enjoyed that trip. Um, it was really cool
Good
kind of
dew
thing.
time that day. And, with legs kind of coming on the mend again, it was good to get out and
Yeah,
get some blood flowing in them again. The uphill wasn't bad on the way back, and we were mostly smiles all the way back to the car and, back
yeah,
home again that night.
yeah, and for sure, getting home at dark, having supper after dark every night, being out exerting yourself. That there was definitely we definitely weren't party animals every evening
No.
because of doing that.
Yeah. We weren't doing that. Yeah.
But yeah, and then Thursday was pretty quick and easy as
Yeah.
far as we did some souvenir shopping. Really cool town, really cool um, stuff there in town in Seward, places to get stuff for the kids
Yeah.
and people we know. And then travel day, clean up and travel day was Thursday.
Yeah.
Um, we do anything fancy? Do anything for supper or anything for? I don't even. I can't even remember what we did. Oh yeah, we just kind of had supper around the house there on Thursday.
Yeah. Just chilled out.
Just chilled out. And that was good. Sometimes when you're on vacation, you plan to go. Having a day in the middle of that week where you can do that, kind of recollected ourselves and so forth. Um, yeah. Anything else you had on that?
No, it was good. It was nice to wake up Friday. So we were back in Anchorage at that point. We woke up Friday and wanted to head into to Hatcher Pass at some point. So we stayed the night at his mom's house again, which is like, Airbnb. I feel like I should get back on there and rate it, but she's not on there.
That's the
But
best
anyway,
Airbnb. Yeah.
yeah, so nice. So nice to be there. But we unloaded our gear, kind of reset. We had a lot of gifts for people that we organized and made sure. And we're flying with our in mind. That's the thing of like traveling with me is I tend to do this, and I'm probably not the only one, but man, I can
Mhm.
ruin the day before I fly out by worrying about flying out. I can
Yeah.
like in my mind I can check out and miss some things, but I really enjoyed Hatcher Pass and made sure to not be in my mind a little bit and really be eyes wide open. 'Cause I wanted to go up there for a bunch of times, and Tyson and his family, we all drove up there together. Went Hatcher Pass, and then
Well,
over the
let's
top
wait,
of Willow.
Kyle, real quick before we get to Hatcher Pass, because I think Hatcher Pass uh, deserves some time on it. But we haven't gone to our commercial break yet for this one. We got so excited and jumping in and talking about it. We haven't talked about our commercial break. So let's go ahead. We'll take our commercial break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up Friday Hatcher Pass and kind of close out the show for this evening. So, hey, folks, thank you for hanging out and joining us. We will see you right back right after this commercial break. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for coming back and joining us here with the Outdoor Collective. Hey, Kyle, we kind of got ourselves Tuesday through Friday through our Alaska trip, and now what an adventure Friday was going through Hatcher Pass. Did you know about it? What was your?
I just know there's a lot of hiking up there, and there was a gold mine up there that produced. I looked it up. Nerdy facts coming out your way, so warning.
Yeah, for sure. We love that.
Yeah, $225 million worth of today's gold came out of there, so that was cool to look at. I know the average price of a house back then was $1,300 back in the 40s, and so you think about that. And those are actually really good paying jobs up there in the mine too. For some of it, the one job, I forget what it was called, but that wasn't that fun, but they all still paid pretty well. But I was looking forward to that. How about yourself? Anything up there you want to see here?
Well, I didn't know anything about it, but I will tell you the Independence Mine, like you said, it was a diamond in the rough for my Friday. I loved walking around it. There's like a museum. The manager's house was like stepping back into the 40s. Of course, being a guy that has an older house, seeing some of that stuff, but even just walking around and seeing the buildings that, they have done some restoration to, and got some good new paints, have done a great job. But even seeing some of the original stuff, like we saw
we saw the tracks for the train, the mine trains. We actually saw there was a mine train there sitting out that you could the kids could climb on and look at. Seeing that, I love history kind of stuff, and I love the pictures that they were there, and even having names to those men and women that were there. I mean, it would be like, this is the commissary, and the guy that ran the commissary was pop 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 pop, and they would tell you about him, and Big Joe, or was it Big Joe who was the boss, and just to me, I could have spent another hour and a half there probably, and not and still wanted to hang around more. And we got a chance to hike around in the outside and see the water and that kind of stuff.
We almost charmed her way into free keys to the building to take a look ourselves, but
exactly,
it didn't quite happen. We were close, so that would have been nice. But there's a tour that goes through there. It'd been neat to see in those buildings other than just looking in the windows. I was definitely intrigued by that, but with the weather started rolling in a little bit and all that. So
yeah, I mean, if you're anything into history, and you're going to Alaska, Hatcher Pass and Independence Mine is a really cool thing. And if you and I was kind of cool was Tyson, had his kids there, took them, and they were able to get their homeschooling credits in for being there that day. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, a field trip for them.
Yeah, but it was definitely that. And then as we came in, if I'm thinking right, we came in was it kind of from the south side of that, we went up into the pass on a nice paved highway.
We came in through Palmer and went over across the very top over to Willow.
Yeah, and then as you get up there to Independence, and then you head up through the pass, it turns to gravel road for 20 miles.
Yeah,
and I don't know what were your impressions as we kind of went through that pass.
No, I can't help it when I see stuff like that. I wonder what it's like in the winter.
Yeah,
and the things that those places have seen, like if those mountains, I know they're not alive, but if mountains could talk and all those things, the stories they could tell, I don't know. Remember the time this vehicle rolled down the side? That's happened there. I guarantee it's seen it all start to finish when didn't even know what a human being was, and then it's all been through that area and so full of history. And I just, it blows me away to think that, just the scope of which that area has been through, and it's not that relative of a time span either. You're talking, the 20s, 30s and on up. It's not been a state that long.
Right. And I think there at the mine, it talked about how the gold rush, or the gold, they found gold there in Willow Creek and started up it in the late 1800s, but didn't start building the mine till the 1930s. So just those men and women, and just the fortitude it took to live in the mountains in the summer. I mean, in the winter. With the snow and the elements and the animals, just so that you could strike it rich. Kind of.
To think that the buildings had to be connected by tunnels because you didn't want to go from building to building in blizzard conditions and lose your way.
Right, exactly.
As soon as they got underground, they were fine. But I think the coolest thing I saw maybe while I was up there, other than scenery, was that map that showed where they surveyed how much gold they got projected per ounce out of where they surveyed. That was ridiculous amounts, and that was back then values. Today it'd be a ton more. So I don't know. I found that fascinating.
Millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And as we, one other thing there at Independence Mine, I had my first fresh off the bush Alaskan blueberry. It was a little tart, but it was very nice.
Tart. We had a couple of those. Pretty nice though. It's like, a week or so ago, 2 weeks before, you can walk through there and get handfuls of them. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw, as we went through the pass, we saw bushes after bushes after bushes. And, the only thing I kept thinking is, we're going to see a bear. We're going to see a bear. We have to see a bear.
Yeah.
Or we're going to see a moose. We're going to see something. And 20 miles of slow, beautiful terrain up and down the sides of mountains, around the corner. Every turn there was another beautiful view, and not one bear, not one moose. We get to the other side, and we realized we still have time. We're like, let's go back the other way. It's, it's getting to be sunset. Maybe we'll get lucky as the sun's going down, and do that again. And then we had an adventure there on the top of the there by Summit Lake. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we just parked right above there, and Tyson likes to check in and work on his radios and to see how far he can broadcast that thing. And you and I made some sandwiches for everybody. We bought some stuff in town while we were down there in Willow and made some sandwiches. So everybody ate those, and I think I had, I don't know, several hundred Doritos. I think I was stress eating because we were traveling the next day, so I didn't want the whole trip to end. Was honestly the truth.
Yeah, for sure.
I get that feeling like, man, I'm not going to see this for another year now. Not like this view. I'm planning to go back in February, but I'm not seeing it like this for another year. And then so while we're doing that, those clouds blew in, and we were like, hey, let's go. Let's take the top of this little mountain here to the right, since we're already 3/4 of the way up here. We started up that dude, and then as soon as we couldn't hear or see the car anymore, we're like, yeah, we better go back. And I took a little bit 30-second video there, and they've shown a couple people, and they're like, I'm like, this is what it's like when you get, the term socked in. I don't know if that's like where you're in a sock, basically your head's in a sock, but it's so white clouds everywhere. And luckily you knew which way was which way was like, there. See how people get lost up there.
Well, what I remember was when we parked there, we got out of the car, and we could look up and we could see what we thought was the top of the mountain. And we're like, yeah, okay, let's go up there. And it felt like it was 500 to maybe 1,000 feet away. Like it wasn't that far.
We're like at probably 3,800 feet right there, probably.
Yeah.
There.
And it was definitely up, but it wasn't definitely it wasn't like far. It was like, I mean, I think we didn't have, we were just in, I think you were in sweatpants even. We weren't trying to do anything crazy. And we get up there and we get to the top of it. And it was a steeper climb than I thought, than I would have imagined. And we get to where it is. And then we're sitting there, you're like, Rick, you're like, we're not even 3/4 up the way this thing. Like after we crest that mountain, after we crest the top of that, we looked up and it was 2 or 3 times higher than what we had just climbed, and we couldn't see the top. We couldn't see past the top of that. So who knows how high it was? Yeah. Especially as that got socked in. And you're right. If that's something you get more focused on getting up the top of that mountain in that fog, in that that cloud comes in, getting lost up there would be super easy. And like you said, we had hoodies on. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't.
No. That weather's coming in, dropping into the 40s. I mean, the wind was heavy, picking up, blowing those clouds across there. I think the only way you would really be able to tell direction is you knew which way the wind came from, but it's going to swirl. It's going to do some other things. But yeah, I mean, you can see how you go up a little bit where you lose your marker and your bearing and just go off to the right side. And you're thinking, oh, that we came up this, let's just go back down it. And then you start to go back down it again. And then you're like, wait, this isn't where we came up.
And no longer is it a steep walk down, it's a cliff straight down, and then you're in real trouble. Something like that happens.
Yeah.
You can see where that happens.
Yeah.
Loose rock or something.
Piles, loose rocks, and start surfing that down. Good luck.
Yeah, for sure.
And we weren't trying to, we knew what we were doing at that point in time, but you get to a level where, hey, we're not being able to see everybody down there and see the car and all that. We need to go back down, but we thought we were at the top, and it kept going. So that was, interesting to say the least.
For sure. And honestly, that was kind of the last adventure of the week for sure. When we came back down and headed back down the pass, the back way, or the way we had come. And I tell you what, guys, Alaska is never going to be the wrong answer. If you're looking for something to do, if you're looking for an adventure, Alaska is never the wrong answer. I don't care if it's July. I don't care if it's September. I don't care if it's February. It's going to give you the adventure of your lifetime.
Yeah.
Time in and time out. I saw that in your eyes, Kyle, as somebody who's been there 5-6 times. I saw that adventure was still there. Like you've been there, you've done you've done stuff similar. You've done stuff harder than what we did. And you were still in awe every day, everywhere we went, all that stuff. So Alaska's not paying. They don't even know who Rick and Kyle is. They're definitely not paying the
No.
Outdoor Collective to advertise for them.
Yeah.
But it is never the wrong answer. If you're looking for adventure, if you got $420 in your pocket, buy an airplane ticket.
Yeah, I mean, the Dagon Alaska Airlines just had a buy one, get one for taxes and fees, and the ticket was like $420 for a round trip.
Yeah.
So I would just say, like, I've been a little bit to Europe. I've been to Central America. I've been Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Arizona, Colorado, a ton of different places. And it just, nothing offers what Alaska offers. And it's not going anywhere. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. You're not. So, so go see it. I mean, I hear people say, oh, it's on my bucket list. Guess what? You don't get to choose that day. I mean, maybe you do. You don't get to choose that day. Do it now. Do it while you can. We're lucky to have friends, and hats off to Tyson and Adrian and the kids for having us up there and treating us like family. And I've never been so welcome.
It was amazing. And Dave and Lois Ritchie for letting us be there as well. I mean, that was just awesome.
Yeah. David and Lois, we didn't get to meet David. He was down in Texas, but she talked about him a lot, and I feel like we got to know him through her talking about him, and just seemed like a great guy, and just grateful to have friends up there and welcome us in with open arms. We're not just like, I'm sure they get nothing but visitors all the time, but they made us feel special. And not that it's all about that, but it's really cool to go places and just bond with people. I really get that. The outdoor community is the best community out there. The hiking community, the outdoor community, like, it just doesn't get any better. And time again, I'm surprised, but not surprised of how welcoming people are. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, hey guys, I'll tell you what, as we kind of close up today, I want to, first of all, thank you for hanging out with us. Maybe this might be the most boring one. I don't know. I liked it. I enjoyed remembering, and hopefully you like our stories as we kind of talk through that. But what Kyle and I are going to do is we're going to go through our pictures, and we will be posting those on the Facebook page and our Instagram page, so you can see these pictures again. I know we kind of try to post them live over there, but to kind of give you an idea now, maybe as you hear this, you can see some of these places we've talked about, some of the places we've been, give you an idea as, hey, if you're going up here, here's an idea of something you might want to do. But you know what, Kyle, we come to that time where it's time to kind of close us out. You got anything you want to tell us before we do?
No, I mean, Rick, I just, from me to you, you're my best friend. We share a ton of, our thoughts together, and a ton of just checking in with each other on our lives and our kids and all those things together, and how much we enjoy the outdoors, for sure. And I loved having you with me. I thought it was awesome. I've never brought anybody up there before. And people talk about wanting to go, but you jumped in with both feet, and everybody was glad to have you there. And I'm sure, if you're probably going to post sometime, you're headed back without me, probably would probably be the case there. But, you can see over here, I added to my American flag, state sticker from Alaska, and right at the top, it says home. So that's my goal within the next 2 years, is to try to get up here. And I generally try to do what I say.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
it's important for a man to keep his word. So that's where I want to go. I'm headed up there, and I just, overall love sharing it with you, man.
I'll tell you what, Kyle, I wouldn't have imagined doing it with anybody else. And this is the place where everybody says we get gushy, but man, it was awesome. From the plane ride where I didn't want to sit with you, to the plane ride where you chose not to sit with me. It was a blast. That not one negative thing. Yes, my legs hurt for 3 days.
Oh, I had some negative experiences from you, but
but nothing you're not used to. I mean, it was Rick. It was Rick being Rick and snoring through the night.
Just the snoring, really. I mean,
but I make up for it in making breakfast. So you gotta give me that.
Well, I will say this: the other night we did the first session of the podcast, and you stayed the night, and on the south wing of home base here, and the walls are internally insulated. I added that stuff in when we built the thing, and I couldn't hear you at all, and it was joyous because I was worried about it. There you go.
Well, buddy, I'm glad I gave you a chance to get your licks in.
My
But
best friend's a chainsaw.
a chainsaw. That was brought up multiple times by multiple people named Kyle.
Well, I'll tell you this. We were all laughing when your ability to go to sleep within 10 seconds at any point in time during the whole trip. I well documented. Other people noticed too. It wasn't just a Kyle thing.
Yes. Hey, it's called clear conscience, baby. It's called a clear conscience.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
so hey folks, we love hanging out with you. We love that you want to hang out with us. Remember, find a way to get outside. Why, Kyle?
The outdoors is nearly perfect, and the only thing missing is you. So get outside.
We thank you guys as always. We'll see you later.